Fear is always about when you fake that you know something, when you fake that you don't know something, then the fear is there. When you have the clarity that these are the things I know, these are the things I don't know, then nobody can do anything to you. You don't need to be afraid of anybody.
Hi, Bhavan. What's up?
Hi Pandey, don't make it like an interview. We'll relax. We'll have a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You make me more nervous than the regular interview. Let's
No, no,
just
no.
relax.
This is just a casual interview,
Mhm.
casual conversation. First of all, heartiest congratulations for your workshop paper in ICML.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So I would like to start with when was the time when you decided that you have to give GATE? Was it when you were studying in BITS or was it when you were doing job in Mobi?
No, so actually I gave it while I was in BITS, but I didn't get a good rank. I got around 1600 rank. But I was not well prepared. Like I prepared for a couple of months, about 3 months, and then I gave it.
Okay.
But I was not capable to get a good rank because of my preparation.
I see.
But research was always at the back of my mind. I wanted to do at least have an option of doing research, even if I'm in my job, so that I can, in the worst case, if I don't find like the job, I can at least jump to research. So I thought GATE is IITs and IIScs had some really good professors who were doing good research. I also thought of giving MS, GRE, and going abroad, but that was not really that worthy an investment if you are interested in research. Like if you are interested in PhD and so on and so forth, shelling out so much money for masters unless and until you want a different cultural experience, you want to stay in, settle down in different country. I don't really think that there is a lot of benefits doing MS abroad. These are my personal opinions, but there might be some pros that I'm not aware of. I felt I'll keep this research as an option.
I understand. I think you had a very good rank, yes, 83, right? Why did you join as MS in IIT instead of joining any MTech programs in any of the old IITs?
I was not interested in doing a lot of courses.
Okay.
I've done enough courses in my BTech, and I felt like courses was just a lot of pressure on a particular student. It's so much of doing 7 or 6 courses in one semester is a lot of pressure. You don't really learn. That really will, and doing courses is not pursuing research. So when a student enters IIT or IISc, he should be very clear about what he wants to do, whether he wants to do job or whether he wants to pursue research. If he wants to do anything apart from research, then take MTech. If he wants to do research, then take MS program or PhD program, because that will train you how to become a researcher. So this clarity the student needs to have before he comes to IITs or IISc. Because once you come there, as far as I know, there is no way you can shift from MTech program to MS program.
Understand.
That clarity I had before, because I had taken a bunch of courses in back in my college, and I felt maybe I'll give research a try and see how that goes. In the worst case, I can anyway come back to job. But research is something that I always felt like at least trying it, because it's a nice skill to have, like how to formulate your arguments, how to ask questions, how to construct your hypothesis to conclusion. So that is an essential skill to have. So I felt research will train me in some form like that. And IIT Madras did not disappoint me in that. I got good experience. I was fortunate to be part of Robert Bosch Center and even Rice Lab before. All in all, it's all good as of now. God's grace.
Why only IITM?
So I mean, I tried for IASC. I gave the Partha Pratim Talukdas interview, but I was not prepared enough. Like at that phase of my life, I only knew linear algebra and probability. I did not know much of machine learning. And the competition was really tough. So I failed, and after that, my options were I got into IIT Bombay, the program. I mean, not the MS program, the MTech program. IIT Madras, I got through the interviews and I had an offer there. So I didn't want to do MTech in IIT Bombay, and I didn't like the MTech by research program in IIT Bombay, because I contacted my seniors and they said it's very much project based. It's not really research based.
I see.
So I was left with only IIT Madras. So there was not really a choice. I just felt like, okay, this place has some good people, and I think I will be able to do some research, and I came here.
And many more good people are coming.
I mean, yeah, like yourself and so many other people. Like MS in IIT Madras is getting stronger day by day because RBC and the IITM Research Park ecosystem, right? They're attracting some really good talent, and it's getting competitive over the years. But back in my time, I don't think the competition was that much. I think during your batch and I mean post my batch, I could see that people were actually grilled, in interviews and asked some really tough questions. I was asked very simple questions.
Many students who join IIT, MS or MTech.
Mhm.
So let's just talk about only MS. How a new MS student should select his guide.
Right. So first of all, new MS student must spend some time before coming to the institute what he wants to pursue research on. Like I spent about 2 weeks going through the papers, whatever they've written, or going through the kind of conferences they're publishing in, and what is their primary area of research. Does it interest me? So I was really not too particular about whom I want to work with. I was more particular about the area. So I wanted to do something in AI because if you keep reading news or tabloids, you get a sense that data is the new oil and so on and so forth. So I wanted to be in that sort of space. But after coming to IIT Madras, I interacted with the faculty in that space, and I genuinely wanted someone who was kind of very free, in their approach to research. I don't like micromanagement in my research. At least I want some give and take, people, an advisor who is very relaxed in the approach. So I then selected Ravindran sir, who is known to be kind of relaxed in the research approach, and he doesn't really micromanage, which I really like. Then it all worked out. It was not really a smooth journey. I mean, we'll talk about it after this. But if you want to know about my mindset when I entered the institute, I had a broad idea what I wanted to do. Always be broad and never be too focused and pinpoint to one professor. Have a broad perspective and you be flexible. Sometimes the professors will not have slots to take you as a student, so you need to be flexible. So I kept a broad perspective of the set of professors I wanted to work, and I approached Ravi sir, and he took me after that. There was no interview whatsoever with Ravi sir. He just asked my interest and brief background of whatever I've done, and I said, no, I've done some linear algebra and probability, and I want to pursue this reinforcement learning or machine learning, and I'll see how it goes. So it was pretty standard. There's no magic here. It's just procedural, that's it. Any common layman can do it.
What is your research interest? Can you tell me in layman's terms?
So my research is in causal inference. It is understanding about the why phenomena, why things happen the way they happen, and how do you pinpoint to the reasons of why a particular process has happened. So in layman terms, it's always about why something has occurred, what are the reasons for it, and if I take a particular course of action, what will be the consequences, and so on and so forth. So it's all about cause and effect. My research did not directly start with causal inference, right? I mean, you are aware of it, but I was fortunate to meet one speaker. This is something that I advise all the master students to do, or the PhD students. Attend guest lectures. There are all guests who come from very big universities or companies. Genuinely go and listen to their talks. You will get a broad level idea of what they're doing, how they're pursuing research, what topics they're stressing on. One person called paper is on imagination machines. Sridhar Mahadevan had come. So he had stressed a lot on causal inference in that paper. So that made me very curious to go and read more about causal inference. But the textbook was very, very hard. Causal inference textbook, if you see on internet as well, by Julia Pearl, it's a very hard read to read the textbook. It so happened that the timing was very much right. So Julia Pearl had released a abridged version of the textbook called Book of Why. And then I started reading that abridged version, and then I started sending mails to Julia Pearl, whatever errors were there in the textbook, and he was kind enough to respond to the mails with whatever queries I had, and he said, yeah, I mean, he suggested some papers and so on and so forth, and that's what fascinated me to read more on causal inference. So I read a lot on causal inference from Book of Why to LIS papers, whatever Pearl had sent. Then I slowly read the textbook, and after 6 to 7 months, Ravi sir was kind enough to say, okay, you have read a lot of literature now. Now, since there is no course in IIT Madras related to causal inference, let's start a course. So then I was like, okay, who will teach? And Ravi sir said he will teach, but it so so happened that during the course he got busy with something, so it worked in my favor, and I handled a lot of lectures in that. I got a lot of teaching experience by teaching that course.
So you created the entire course.
Right. So with the help, so me and Ravi sir created that entire course, the syllabus, the assignments, and everything.
You took most of the lectures as well, right?
Right. So because Ravi sir was traveling for conferences and so on and so forth, and since it was the first offering of the course, he was kind enough to give me the responsibility, and I did it.
How was the experience? So what goes through teacher's mind and what goes through student mind?
Right. So actually, I never used to write notes well, before. I understood how to make notes after teaching. During my student time, I used to make very gibberish notes. When you teach, you will know what to write and what to say. It's a very nice skill. So that's the reason you should teach at least a few people, because you'll know how to make notes, what are the important contents to stress on, and how to deliver the lecture. But as a student, you come from a point of view that the teacher has to deliver everything. You look at him as the godfather. But from a teacher's point of view, it is always like, are my students understanding what I say? Hopefully, nobody questions some difficult question on that day. So these are the things on a teacher's mind. And even if they question difficult things, but I slowly, when I evolved through the lecture, I realized that please make it a discussion.
Yeah.
If there
It's
is
always a
something,
learning. It's always a learning.
it's always a learning. It's always a learning. So I then made it a discussion. I started involving students who might have better points of view than you at that point in time. So it became an interactive session, and I really enjoyed it. If you can learn like a teacher, right, you can really learn the subject well. So initially, while reading a textbook, right, I used to read end to end. So I used to be like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. So then after teaching, I realized you don't need to do that. What you need to do is, suppose you can read few sections and then skip few sections if you feel that the connection is not really required. If you read 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and if that's sufficient to move to chapter 2, you can do it. You don't need to read 1.4 and 1.5. That skill teaching teaches you how to skip, what to skip, how much to teach. We don't need to be experts in day one. Even a teacher evolves as he teaches more and more times. So that skill is something that Ravi sir was kind enough to make me understand that particular skill. It's a very nice skill.
And also you learn more from students' doubt, right?
So the story initially you'll be very scared that they should not ask questions. Then you will accept whatever you know and what you don't know. It gives you that clarity. Once you're clear what you know, what you don't know, you don't need to be afraid about anything. The fear is always about when you fake that you know something, when you fake that you don't know something, then the fear is there. When you have the clarity that these are the things I know, these are the things I don't know, then nobody can do anything to you. You don't need to be afraid of anybody.
I see.